In the quiet hum of a forgotten marina lived a man named Arthur. His world was a symphony of creaking wood, the scent of salt water and varnish, and the gentle lapping of waves against hulls. Arthur was a master craftsman, a boat whisperer, if you will. He breathed new life into tired, forgotten vessels. He'd take a splintered wreck, a ghost of a boat, and with calloused, knowing hands, he'd coax it back to its former glory. The wood would gleam, the brass would shine, and the sails would be mended to crisp perfection. Every boat he touched became a masterpiece, ready to conquer the horizon. But there was a strange, silent rule in Arthur's little kingdom. His boats never sailed. They sat, moored and magnificent, like beautiful sculptures in a waterfront gallery. The locals would whisper, wondering about the man who built ships for a sea he never embraced. Some said he was afraid of the water, a cruel irony for a boat builder. Others believed he was a perfectionist, unable to bear the thought of his creations facing the unpredictable nature of the ocean. Arthur never corrected them. He'd simply smile, tip his worn cap, and return to his work, his secrets held tight within the grain of the wood he so lovingly restored. His life was a predictable rhythm of sanding, painting, and polishing. Each finished boat was a monument to a journey never taken. He found contentment in the process, not the destination. The potential was enough. The dream of sailing, frozen in time, was safer than the reality. He built cages of beauty, trapping the spirit of adventure at the dock, and for a long time, that was enough for him. His heart, much like his boats, was beautifully restored, but permanently moored. Then, one sun-drenched afternoon, she walked into his life, her footsteps light on the weathered boardwalk. Her name was Alara, an artist with eyes, the color of the deep sea, and a laugh that sounded like wind chimes. She didn't see the oddity of his static fleet. She saw the art. She'd spend hours watching him work, sketching the curve of a hull or the intricate knot of a rope. She asked him about the wood, the tools, the history of each boat. She asked him about the stories they held, not just the ones of their past, but the ones they were yet to live. Arthur, a man of few words, found himself talking for hours. He told her how the sea serpent had once been a smuggling vessel, and how the wanderer had belonged to a famous explorer. He spoke of the wood's memory, the soul within each plank. Alara listened, her gaze filled with a genuine curiosity that chipped away at the defenses he had built around his heart. She never asked him the one question everyone else did. "Why do you want to sail them?" Instead, she'd say things like, "I can almost feel the spray of the ocean when I look at this one," or "This boat looks like it's dreaming of distant shores." She saw the life in them, the yearning. One evening, as the sun painted the sky in fiery oranges and purples, she unveiled a painting. It was of Arthur, not in his workshop, but at the helm of his most prized creation, the Stardust, a sleek sailboat he had spent years perfecting. In the painting, his face was alive, wind in his hair, a look of pure, unadulterated joy in his eyes. He was sailing toward a brilliant sunrise. Arthur stared at the canvas, his breath caught in his throat. He saw a version of himself he had locked away long ago. A man not defined by fear, but by freedom. "That's how I see you," Alara said softly, her hand finding his. "Not the man who fixes boats, but the man who sails them." In Tatmo means something inside Arthur shifted. There was a subtle, tectonic movement in the landscape of his soul. The fear he had carried for decades, a heavy anchor forged from a childhood tragedy on the water, began to feel lighter. He had spent his life restoring boats as a way to control the one thing that had stolen so much from him. If he could fix the vessels, maybe he could fix the past. But he learned you can't control the ocean, and you can't live a full life on the shore. Alara didn't try to fix him. She just showed him a picture of who he could be. Her love wasn't a repair job. It was a launch. It was the wind he had been waiting for. The next morning, the marina awoke to an unfamiliar sight. Arthur was on the deck of the Stardust, not with a sander or a paintbrush, but with purpose. He checked the rigging, unfurled the mainsail, and his movements were sure, fluid, as if he'd been doing this his whole life. It was muscle memory from a time before the fear. Alara stood on the dock, her painting propped on an easel, a silent promise of the dawn to come. Arthur untied the final rope, the one that had held him, and the boat captive for so long. The stardust drifted away from the dock, catching the morning breeze. It didn't just sail, it danced on the water, eager and alive. Arthur looked back at Alora, a smile spreading across his face, a real, genuine smile that reached his eyes. It was the same smile from a painting. He wasn't just fixing boats anymore. He was finally learning to navigate his own life, with love as his compass and a new sunrise on the horizon. His greatest restoration wasn't of wood and sail, but of his own spirit, finally set free to explore the vast, beautiful ocean of life. Thanks so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like and consider subscribing for more tailies from the workshop. See you next time.